There have been a wide array of ways heroes have responded to the apocalypse, and while not all have triumphed, that doesn't make the act of reading them persevere any less engaging. After all, there's a certain joy to be derived from seeing your favourite heroes overcome these crushing settings, although of course not all of them manage to do so. I'm Ewan, this is What Culture Comics, and here are 8 superheroes who saw the end of the world. Number 8. Wonder Woman, Dead Earth. Wonder Woman Dead Earth is one of the best Wonder Woman comics ever. Written and drawn by Daniel Warren Johnson with colours from Michael Spicer, Dead Earth picks up with Diana emerging from a hibernation tube hundreds of years in the future after a nuclear holocaust has ravaged the globe. Only a few humans remain, and they're plagued by mutated Hydra monsters which look all kinds of gnarly. After awaking, Diana encounters a band of human survivors and vows to lead them to Themyscira, a land she hopes went untouched by humanity's nukes. All is not as it seems, however, and as Diana continues her journey, she discovers a devastating revelation that forces her to choose between man's world and that of the Amazons. Dead Earth is a phenomenal read that's about as bleak as it is oddly uplifting. It typifies Wonder Woman's most inspiring qualities and does it all with some seriously kick-ass visuals. Number 7. Frank Castle, Cosmic Ghost Rider. Introduced by writer Donny Cates and artist Jeff Shaw in 2018's Thanos number 13, Cosmic Ghost Rider is actually a version of Frank Castle who lived to see the world destroyed by Thanos, as the Mad Titan embarked on a terrifying conquest of the universe, virtually unopposed. Castle eventually perishes as Marvel's heroes defend the Earth from the Mad Titan and finds himself in Mephisto's realm. There, he makes a deal with the demon to become the new Ghost Rider, so long as he could get his revenge on Thanos. Tragically, when Castle emerges, he discovers that Thanos is nowhere to be found and that the Earth is sorta dead. He's forced to roam the planet on his own for years until eventually Galactus arrives seeking aid against Thanos. Castle explains to the Devourer of Worlds how he was humanity's sole survivor before offering the Earth up in exchange for a chance to kill Thanos by becoming Galactus' herald. Galactus then imbues Castle with the power cosmic, thus transforming him into the Cosmic Ghost Rider, and yes, it is the coolest thing ever. Things go less well from there on in, with Thanos killing Galactus and making Frank his own herald, but of all the characters to have seen the apocalypse, few have done so with as much style or flair as the former Punisher. Number 6. Batman and the Joker, Last Night on Earth. Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo's last Batman story positioned the Caped Crusader in one of the gnarliest post-apocalyptic landscapes in comic book history when it released in 2019. The story is all kinds of wild, and that makes sense given it essentially marked the end of Snyder and Capullo's already epic decade-long journey with the character. The duo masterminded a critically acclaimed stint on The Dark Knight from 2011 onwards, and while Dark Knight's metal could lay a claim for being just as ridiculous in all the best ways, it doesn't have a headless Joker Batman has to carry around and talk to, or weird power ring conjured babies who attack passers-by. Oh, and that's not to mention the Speed Force storms either, which are powered by all the Earth's crazed flashes and cause anyone in them to age catastrophically in a matter of seconds. The less said about last night's story, the better, as it really must be read to be believed. Just know that it's all kinds of weird and wonderful, and that, as far as bookends to years-long comic book runs go, it's pretty darn great. Number 5. Hulk, The End. Of all the characters who could wind up in the apocalypse, the Hulk is probably the most well-equipped. Old Jade Jaws is one of Marvel's most durable figures, and given so much of his torment comes from the fact that humanity just won't leave him alone, it would stand to reason that, actually, the apocalypse might just be what the Doctor ordered. Of the many Marvel comics to take place in the aftermath of the world's end, some of the most notable have also focused specifically on the Hulk. The first, Future Imperfect, came as a part of Peter David's barnstorming run on the character in the 80s and 90s, while the second, The End, was also written by David and came as a part of Marvel's wider The End initiative, which posed hypothetical conclusions to several iconic characters' journeys, including the Punisher. Of the 2 Hulk apocalypse stories, though, The End takes the idea of the end of the world and applies it more literally. The one-shot comic from David and artist Dale Keown sees the Hulk become the sole survivor of a nuclear war, and this places great strain on his relationship with his other half, Bruce Banner. Bruce wants nothing more than to to actually die given the innate bleakness of the reality that confronts them, while Hulk wants nothing more than to roam the planet in blissful solitude. Banner attempts numerous suicides, but the Hulk prevents each one, until eventually Bruce does pass away, while the Hulk remains, left to stew on his own loneliness and consider that it maybe wasn't what he wanted after all. Number 4. The X-Men. Like, a lot. The X-Men are pretty much the undisputed kings of the post-apocalypse. It's a good thing, then, that most of these stories also happen to be some of the comics' best, with Days of Future Past and Age of Apocalypse by far the two most prominent. And although the former doesn't represent the end of the world for mankind as a whole, it does spell the end for mutants who have all been hunted down by the Sentinels. Kitty Pryde has to be sent back in time to avert the timeline, and the X-Men get to breathe a sigh of relief until the next inevitable time-traveling mishap occurs, and boy, do a lot of them occur. Age of Apocalypse was arguably just as messy. When Professor X's son, David Haller, tries to pull a Skynet by going back in time to kill Magneto, he accidentally kills his father instead. I mean, easy mistake to make, right? This leads to a reality where Apocalypse is able to take over the Earth unopposed by the X-Men, with Ensabaneur's survival of the fittest doctrine leading to many deaths and some brutal reimaginings of beloved X characters. More recently, in Jonathan Hickman, R.B. Silver, Pepe Larraz, and Marte Garcia's House of X Powers of 10, it was revealed how Moira McTaggart was herself a mutant with a specific ability of reincarnation. She lives through 9 lives, all of which end in some terrifying future where humanity or some other force wipes out mutant kind, and so in her 10th, she resolves to unite Professor X and Magneto so that they can hopefully avert disaster. Number 3. All the Marvel heroes. Marvel zombies. Back when the world was having its mad zombie craze in the mid to late aughts, you had to be there, Marvel also decided to get in on the action by introducing Marvel zombies in a story from Walking Dead creator Robert Kirkman and artist Sean Phillips. The Marvel zombies hail from an alternate reality where an unknown being crash lands on Earth. Lo and behold, the figure is infected with a serious zombie virus and soon begins to infect the Marvel heroes. The catch this time is that, whereas other zombies lose their personality and intelligence and devolve into groaning beings with an insatiable hunger for human flesh, these ones do not. They actually retain their personalities, but still have the whole hunger for flesh thing there, which is obviously a big catch. Eventually, once Earth has been turned into a zombified wreck, the Silver Surfer arrives to inform the zombie heroes that Galactus is coming to eat their planet. The zombies don't provide a warm welcome though, and manage to eat the Silver Surfer and absorb the power cosmic, which then enables them to kill Galactus by cosmically feasting on his corpse. The remaining zombie heroes then essentially become the new Galactus, traveling from planet to planet and eating everything in sight. Charming. Number 2. A few surviving Avengers. Age of Ultron. Prior to 2015, Age of Ultron wasn't just the name given to a mildly annoying MCU film from Joss Whedon. A couple of years before then, it was actually a major comics event from writer Brian Michael Bendis and artists Brian Hitch and Brandon Peterson. Apart from the name and antagonist though, the comic shares nothing in common with the film. It's not an origin story and instead opens to the version of Earth ruled by Ultron, with Earth's mightiest heroes waging an underground resistance against the robotic despot. Things have very much not gone according to plan in this future, with plenty of Marvel heroes dead as a result of Ultron's resurgence, and things not looking rosy at all. The surviving heroes travel into the future to stop Ultron before he can travel back in time and conquer the planet. It's slightly confusing, while Wolverine and Invisible Woman travel back to kill Hank Pym before he creates Ultron in the first place. As one would expect, the solution isn't as simple as it sounds, and things go from bad to not quite as bad, but still bad. Whatever the case, those issues where we got to see the world ruled by Ultron were definitely up there with the freakiest Marvel dystopias. And number 1, the Justice League, JLA Rock of Ages. Grant Morrison has written some pretty spectacular comics throughout their career, and their run on Justice League of America is no exception. Rock of Ages also marks the first storyline where Morrison would utilize Darkseid, the second being Final Crisis, which released in 2006 and remains highly underrated. Both comics share more than just the Lord of Apocalypse in common, however, as both also depict him wielding the coveted anti-life equation and ruling ruling over Earth with absolute authority. But whereas Final Crisis takes place in the present and the heroes are able to overthrow Darkseid, Rock of Ages takes place in the future, where all hope has been lost. In this grim future timeline, Darkseid's rule is absolute, and suffering is pretty much all there is to existence. JLA 13 even reveals how Superman had killed himself while Batman remains imprisoned, and Flash does nothing but work in one of the many fire pits Darkseid constructed after his invasion of Earth. The time-displaced heroes are eventually able to unite the surviving figures in the dystopia and defeat Darkseid, with Atom delivering the killing blow, but previous issues had also been building up to a world-ending event. Said event gets revealed in the 14th issue, which sees Orion activating a Genesis box, a device that wipes out the universe and rebuilds it without Darkseid. And those were 8 heroes who saw the end of the world. What are your favourite apocalyptic comic book futures? Let us know in the comments below, and please don't forget to drop the video a like if you enjoyed it, and to subscribe to What Culture Comics so you don't miss another upload going forward. That's all for now though. I've been Ewan. You can catch my further adventures on Twitter if you want to, at EwanRuinsThings, and I will see you next time.